I'm going down to the drugstore, buy a big old skeiny yarn. I'm gonna knit me a kitten, even if you don't give a darn.
Hi, welcome to episode 135 of the We Are Yarn podcast. We Are Yarn. My name is Amanda, also known as Mandy Cat, MandiKat on Ravelry, and the same spelling with a 509 after it at Instagram. Those are my social media venues of choice lately. Let's start with a few announcements today. First off, let me tell you, I've tried to sit down and push that record button a couple of times. I had just laid the baby Isaac down for a nap, and I thought it was going to go smoothly, and then he stood up in his crib and lost his balance and bumped his noggin. So I had to go deal with that. And then the cat started meowing. So I had to go deal with that. And he needed his medicine anyway. So I've done all that now. And then I thought Isaac was going to lay down after bumping his noggin. And now he is not. He's being very active in his crib. So this may be kind of choppy, because I may be trying to get a 13-and-a-half-month-old to take a nap. I am on my warm-up number 2, so that would be coffee cup number 3 today. It's a smallish coffee mug, so I mean, it's not horrible. And then I have started going crazy neutral with my fingernail polish lately, because you can't tell when it's been chipped off. Because I am who I am as a person and as a new mom. You know, I love the Sally Hansen Insta-Dry. And then if you put a really good, like, if you get time and put a nice, like, professional grade top coat on it, it'll actually last a while. This is Making Mauves. And it's going to not zoom for you. Making Mauves. I like it very much. I thought when I first put it on that it was going to be a little too purple, but the longer I wear it, it's perfect for my skin tone, I think. I really like it. That's that. I don't have any FOs. I almost finished Isaac's dinosaur, but then I ran out of polyfill, and then I had to go to the store and get polyfill, and that took me a little while to do. And then it was November, and we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But needless to say, I haven't quite gotten back to that yet. He's such a mess. Okay, so it's finally fall weather in East Tennessee. So I've been pulling out the hand knits. So I thought I'd show you what I've been wearing, what I've chosen so far. The first I wore on the first day that shawl weather was mildly appropriate is my Gratitude shawl. This was a pattern by Anne Frank. Anne Frank? No. Who is Anne Frank even? Deborah Frank, I think. Let's check. Oh, I had announcements. Let's go back to that in a second. Let's do announcements. I have been very remiss in announcing the knit-along that my lovely friend Linda, Epic1313, is hosting. And she is hosting a knit-along for a Baton Rouge designer who was impacted by the flooding in Baton Rouge back in August. And that designer is Emily Ringelman, E-M-I-L-Y, Ringelman, R-I-N-G-E-L-M-A-N. She has some very lovely pattern. There are quite a few really nice quite a few very lovely prizes that she's offering. There is a link to the thread through a thread in my group, Flooded Louisiana Designer Knit Along is what it's titled. She posted on November 1st. We're about a month from the end. So let me check out when the end is. Wednesday, November 30th. So go check out Emily's patterns. If you don't want to participate in the knit along, maybe still just, and if you have the funds, maybe purchase one of her patterns just to kind of help her out. yeah, she has some cute fingerless mitts. Looks like she just recently, she has some things on Knit Picks. She has a pretty Fair Isle hat and a washcloth that says wash on it. That's cute. And a washing mitt. And some sweaters and some baby blankets. And so she has, you know, she has things for everybody there. So go check it out. All right. That's that. Help out one of our own. So back to it. I have been wearing things because it's finally the weather too, and I wanted to show you. This is my Gratitude by Deborah Frank. It is the Gratitude by me. The pattern is by Deborah Frank. I used, instead of using a bunch of different yarns, I just used, this was a self-striper shawl ball from Moon Holler. So I used as much as I possibly could. I have, which ran at about 650 yards. And this colorway was inspired by a picture of the mountains in the Great Smokies. So that's that. And I wore it jauntily, just kind of tossed around like this. It's very long, so I just kind of threw it around, went like that, and there it was. Next up, I wore on Monday my Shalom cardigan, and I'm going to be totally honest, I do not wear this very often at all. I knit this, oh my gosh, who knows how many years ago, 5, 6 years ago. It's out of an Araucania cotton, and there it is. I don't know, and you know, I don't know why I don't wear it that often. It just, I don't know, I guess it always feels kind of awkward, but I'm past that awkward stage now maybe, I don't know. So I wore it and it was fabulous. Not a single person commented on it. Maybe it's the buttons. Maybe I need new buttons. And then I get lots of compliments on this every time I wear it. This is the Cerisara, C-E-R-I-S-A-R-A. I finished this up in 2013, so it's about 3 years old now. Getting close to it, 2.5, 3 years. So it's a knit in one piece, very interesting construction with this lacy bit on the top and then some reverse stockinette on the bottom. Open front cardigan. By Bon Marie Burns, and I'm going to go ahead and say this is probably my most successful garment knit to date. It's the perfect weight. It's warm but not crazy warm. It's it fits great. Most successful. And I'll link to everything. I should write all this down. I'm writing as I go today. Empty show notes. My work in progress. I still, for my purse knitting, I've been working on the socks that I have the delusions of getting done by Christmas for my husband. But when you barely do 2 or 3 rounds every 2 or 3 days, it's not going to get done by Christmas. It's not. I also have delusions of completing this sweater for Nanny Swimo, National Knit Sweater Month, which is November. It takes me ages to knit sweaters. Big, like smaller projects, I can knock out what appears to be a smaller project. I can knock out very quickly. I don't know why sweaters take me so long. So long. I can tell you exactly why this sweater is taking me so long though. So let me show you what I have chosen. I'm knitting the Palladio by Jane Richmond. She's so lovely. I love her patterns. And I think I showed this to you last time, guys, that she, I'm going to need to go back and rework this. She gives you the patterns have blanks in them, and then there's a chart, and you go in and fill in your numbers from the chart, so it's super easy. unless you're Amanda. Okay, so this is what happened. The last time I talked about this, I'm pretty certain I told you guys that I looked at my swatch. No, I didn't look at my swatch. This was previously going to be a different sweater. And I had swatched and gotten exactly the gauge I needed on exactly this, or on like one size needle size bigger than what was called for the yarn that was called for. So I studied the yarn that was called for, and my swatch, and the yarn that was called for the Palladio, and the yarn that was called for the old sweater, and the yarn that was called for the Palladio had the same gauge per the manufacturers. Okay, so I said, well, if I'm able to knit to this gauge for that old sweater on these needles, this gauge I should be able to knit to on one needle size bigger, which is the needle size called for in the pattern. It's like it was a match made in heaven. It was perfect. So it calls for 7s, I believe. Yep, it calls for 7s. So I whipped out my 7s and went to town. Now, let me look and see, because it calls for 6s and 7s. So now I'm like using long tail method and larger circ. So 7s, right? Okay, so I just so happen to have available for use my, they're not interchangeable, my Knitter's Pride Cubics in size 7. Now, my big problem with the Cubics is that the ink that they use to stamp their needle sizes on rubs off, and this one rubbed off very much. But I knew it was a 7, and so I took some white out, created somewhere I could write on. I wrote 7, and then I went over that with clear fingernail polish. Every time I get a new set of cubics, I always, the wooden cubics, I always get some clear fingernail polish and paint over that number nail, and it works like a charm. Okay, so I start knitting. I actually measured my boobage, and I went to town, knitting the size that would give me 0 or slightly negative ease in the bust, because that's the way she says it's supposed to fit. Slight negative ease in the bust, and then it comes out into an A-line, and for maximum looking nice, but also slouchy comfiness. Okay, so yay! So this was this is a top-down raglan, all in one piece. So I set to town. She has you do some back and forth on the back before you join in the round, so that your back neck is up higher, and so you get kind of a scoop in the front, but it's not, you know, all up here. So that's nice. So there's that. One change I am planning on making is that she calls for you to do a applied I-cord edging around the neck. And I think this neck looks like it may be a little wider than I like. So I think I'm going to pick up stitches and do a rib to match the rib around the bottom and the sleeves. So yeah, that's my plan. However, so I knit, and things are going great, and I'm really proud of myself, and everything looks super good, and I'm really excited about it. And then I complete the first section, and then it says knit in pattern, so maintaining the pattern here, but with no more raglan increases until like, for the size I chose, like 7 and some odd inches. So I went, ooh, I'll measure now and I'll see how far I had to go. And I was at 8 and some odd inches. Now that should have told me something right there. Everybody at Knit Group said, oh, where did you mess up? It's like, I didn't mess up. I have the exact number of stitches I'm supposed to have. My row gauge is just bigger. So that's okay. I'll just dive into the next section. So I put my sleeves on some waste yarn that I magically had in my bag that I was kind of surprised I had it. When you're prepared and you don't know you're prepared, it's always kind of exciting. So I put my sleeves on their waste yarn and I cast on the number of stitches I was supposed to at that underarm seam, and I went to town and I knit at least 3 or 4 rows. And then my brain went, maybe this is a bad plan. And my heart went, or my heart probably is what said this is a bad plan. My brain was like, no, I'm knitting. And my heart was like, no. Stop and measure your stitch gauge. No, I'm going to keep knitting. No, stop. And finally my heart won. That nagging won. I was like, okay, I'll put it on waste yarn and try it on. So I put it on waste yarn, tried it on, and guys, it was so big. So big! Now when I measured and I was already too long, I should have measured my stitch gauge. But you know, sometimes your stitch gauge can be dead on and your row gauge be way off. And that's what I thought had happened, and it wasn't. It was just my whole gauge was off altogether. So I measured my stitch gauge. I did some knitter math. It was not painful. And I discovered that I had those stitches for the underarm. I could have just not put those on. So, and it would have been fine. So I tinked back. Reverse knitting is no fun. I was very frustrated because this is for knit a sweater in a month, right? I'm not keeping up with my stitches, my stitch count, because I'm not that crazy. I would like to knit a sweater in the month. I need to be, you know, halfway through the body, but I had to spend an hour, hour and a half one night tinking back, doing my math, figuring out how many underarm stitches to cast on. I ended up choosing a size. I'm doing 2 different sizes now. I'm doing a size for around my boobs that will be so that I had stitch counts that go with the pattern. It's probably going to give me a little more than just a tiny bit of negative ease, but I think it's going to be fine. I am finally successfully dropping some of my pregnancy weight. So all this working out and counting calories, it's working. So finally losing some weight. I know I'm supposed to knit to the body I have now, and I was doing that, but I think this will work out just fine. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. So it'll give me actually the negative ease that she says it should have, instead of just maybe ½ an inch of negative ease, which is what I was originally going to be having. So it'll be fine. And I cast on at the underarm the number of stitches that would give me that count, but then it also gives me an even count for another one of the sizes for the armhole. I did kind of panic a little bit and wonder if, because my raglan shaping, instead of just coming down, you know, kind of to my pit and then it being knit straight and then underarm here, I was concerned that that raglan shaping all the way down was going to be a problem. So I did, instead of putting it on waste yarn this time, because taking it off that waste yarn was a PETA too, I just got another set of circulars. So I had 2 circular needles running through it, pulled it on, and it was amazing. It fits so nice. I don't think that raglan shaping all the way down is going to be a problem, because I think I had that extra inch. That's a total 2 inches around here, right? Golden. It worked out. It's going to work out. So now I just need the opportunity to sit down and knit. And then yesterday or the day before, I sat down to knit, and I must have been working on this when I was very tired the last time, because I had an error in my lace where I don't know if you'll be able to tell, where I had put in, so the lace pattern has you do a decrease, and there's a row of stockinette in between your little lacy bits, and you see this big old hole right there. I'd put in an extra decrease yarn over, and I thought I don't know what I had thought, but I just keep telling myself, like, I don't want to rip back again. Guys, I don't. And so I keep telling myself that it's just it'll block right out. It's gonna block right out. It'll block. It's gonna be fine. So now I just need to knit. Let me write this down. This is my whip is the Palladio by Jane Richmond. I'm on a US 7 right now, which is a size 4.5 millimeter cubics. I'm trying to remember. It's not interchangeable. If it's not interchangeable, it's fixed. Fixed. This is out of some hand spun. It is Shetland, and this shade of Shetland is Morit. It is a natural shade, and it's beautiful. It is a pretty rustic yarn. I spun this yarn for the Spin Along Knit Along in 2012 with the Knit More girls. I think I actually finished the spinning in 2014 and then cast on a sweater, and then I got pregnant, and that sweater is a cardigan. I'm not into knitting cardigans right now. I want to knit pullovers, and so that's why I'm doing this one. And I think it's finally found its forever home, this yarn. It is pretty rustic. What I was just picking out there are some guard hairs. Speaking of hand spun, I have oh, and I spun all my singles. I just spun them and then did wraps per inch on all of my singles, and applied 3 of them together for a little bit, and 4 of them together for a little bit, 2 of them together for a little bit, and then did some swatching with them. Decided that 3-ply was the way to go, and then I purposefully chose, you know, if one single was much thinner and one was much thicker, and then one that kind of fell in the middle, so that they were all kind of, all of my skeins would be even. So that's how I did that. And since it took me 2 years really to get all those singles spun, and not very long to get them plied, that was the thought process I used to get all of my yarn kind of even. So let's hope it works. I chose to start knitting this sweater with the largest skein in hopes that it will get me most of the way through the body, and I won't have to join yarn very many times. After the boxy, and you know, I had ripped a sweater out to make the boxy, I have so many ends to weave in, and I say I have so many ends to weave in because the only ends I have woven in on that sweater still are the ones that that you would be able to see. So on the bottom of the sweater, the top of the sweater, the ends of the sleeves, and then any ends that were so long they hung past the bottom. That's all. And it will probably stay like that for eternity. Let's see, what else can I talk about in my knitting? I have been very, very good. I have not purchased any new yarn. I have so much beautiful yarn and I want to use it. So I have been, you don't know how I feel overwhelmed when I look at my stash because it is so beautiful. I can hold this up here where you can see me knitting. It's so beautiful and so inspirational. It's almost over inspirational. And then things like, there's been a big push, this week was election week. There's been a big push for paying it forward, random acts of kindness, knitters giving back. There have been quite a few just pushes of kindness in the community, and a lovely friend and I assume viewer gifted me a pattern that has been on my wish list and in my queue for ages and ages and ages, and now I want to knit it. And there are so many things that I want to cast on. I gotta get this sweater done though, and I just talked about how I want to do a whip down, and how am I doing on that? Let's look at how I'm doing on that. So the dinosaur's about to be done. Some socks I want to get done for Christmas. Whatever. My wild goose shawlette in the Fruju colorway. It would be very lovely if I could finish that. I am in the lace portion of that. I have less, maybe a third of the yarn remaining. So that should go pretty quickly. The socks that I cast on, once I get back to it, after I get done with this, once the, let's see, fizzy socks. The fizzy socks are the socks that I cast on to work on when I was in labor. And then they put my Ivy Access in my hand, and it hurt to knit. So I didn't knit much laying there, not able to feel my legs, when I had all sorts of time to do it. You know, I probably could have talked to the nurse that took over and been like, look, I want to knit and I can't. Can you move my access? I wonder if she would have done it. Hindsight, 2020. Okay, I have some sock blank socks, and I really need to have a come to Jesus moment with those. How long have I been talking to you? I probably should stop talking here in a minute. I was doing zigzagular socks, and that's a pattern by a person, Susie White. And they're very cute, but I decided that I wanted the zigzag going opposite, like mirroring, and so I'm at different points of the chart on each sock, and I cast those on January 1st, 2015, before I knew I was pregnant, and I have not touched them since probably 2 weeks after that. And so there's no telling, I don't know where I am. I think I need to just go back and rip those socks out and do something else. And that is a sock blank it's a 2-stranded sock blank so that your socks match. And my concern here is that one, it's going to be super fun to rip out because I can't cake it up. Like I don't know how I'm going to rip it out and what I'm going to do with all that yarn, how I'm going to manage it. And yeah, but I think that's probably going to get cut. And that yarn was very much a impulse buy. I was at Fiber in the Burrow, and all of my lovely friends were buying these sock blanks. I think it's from River's Edge. Yeah, from River's Edge Fiber Arts. And I love knitting. I don't mind knitting from sock blanks at all. The kinkiness of the yarn coming out of the blank does not bother me in the least. But it's a gradient, and I think honestly I would really like to use this yarn in a shawl or a sweater or something where the gradient would really shine. I have small feet. It's 430 yards worth of yarn. Why am I trying to, I'm sitting here, I feel like I'm trying to talk myself into this. So it's 430 yards of yarn. That would make like almost calf-high socks for me. I'm talking maybe almost knee-high socks if I knit the entire thing because my feet are tiny. And I don't want to cut the gradient off in the middle. I could make 2 pairs of socks, but then the gradient is so pretty and I want to see the whole thing. And so I'm like, I could use it for a shawl, but then it's too stranded. So how would I do that? Would I alternate rows? But then, like, when it starts to change color, it'll look kind of... I guess I could do a stole that... Oh, okay, so I have a book. You guys, you're like, Amanda, stop rambling. But I need to talk this out. Okay, so I have a book called... That's Judy's Magic Cast On. I love Judy's Magic Cast On. And the idea is that they're patterns that utilize Judy's Magic Cast On that aren't socks. Maybe I should crack that open and see if there's maybe a stole pattern, because that could be fun. And then I could start from one end and then knit until my yarn is ended, and then go back and knit to the other end until the yarn is ended, and then it'll gradiate down to the edge. This is a thought. And then if I needed more yarn for a pattern, oh, and then I could like stripe it so it could be like solid stripes, and then the gradient. See? Over inspiration. Okay, so that's what it's going to do now. That's what I'm going to do now. That's what I'm going to do. Thank you for hanging in there with me. So that's going to get ripped out. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Click to edit. Frogged. Save. That's what's happening. Yay! Okay. So back to my whip down. I have a sweater, not a sweater, a summer's top, the Convergence top that I was crocheting before I got Gregor's Preggers, and I'm going to keep that, honestly, that's not going to be part of the whip down. I'm going to keep that on hold until, say, February or March, and see where my body is, and then that'll give me time to knit it before the summer hits. My oldest whip, I started January 31st, 2011. It is the Seepaloo bag. I'm sure you know this one. It was a Knit Picks kit, and it's beautiful, and it's Fair Isle. And I've been struggling with my Fair Isle for that whole 5 years, and that's not going to be part of the whip down either. There's no way. And then finally, the last whip I have now is the sweater that I'm charging towards the end. I did the crochet bug bit me really hard at the end of October, and I started hooking up the Crochet X Stitch Shrug. Now that was a gift pattern. Did I write it down? I wrote it on a piece of paper and put it in the bag. It was a gift pattern from a lovely viewer a while back. You may or may not remember who you are, but it's a lovely little shrug. I had some yarn I'd already caked up. I'd thought about using it for a one of the patterns that everybody's knit, and I haven't knit one. The crochet bug bit me, and I needed to scratch that itch, and I cast this on Crochet X Stitch Shrug by Deanna Young. I used a Knitting Fever Luxury Collection Luxury Roving. It's a single. I have 805 yards in my stash and the pattern calls for 900, so let's just hope that they added 10% and I'll actually have what I need. It zipped along. I've done 2 or 3 repeats. I'm almost to the end of, no, I've already joined my second ball of yarn. It was really fast. I forget how fast crochet is. I'll make sure I show that to you next time. I've been talking for so long. I try to keep this at half an hour and I'm not done that this time. I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for sitting with me while I knit on this. Thank you so much for sitting and listen to me babble and work out what I'm gonna do with that sock blank. I'm actually gonna go take that down. I have it hanging on the wall in my craft room. I'm gonna go take that down right now and pull those socks out so I'm not tempted to change my mind. I think it's gonna make a beautiful stole, maybe a striped something or other, and I'm looking forward to that now. And I'm going to get to the end of my row. I'm going to talk to you till I'm to the end of my row. I hope that you, wherever you are, the fall weather is beautiful and treating you well. I hope, or the further north you get. I think I've seen some people posting pictures of snow already. Oh, couldn't live there. You guys are amazing. I wouldn't be able to do it. I hope that if you are in the southern hemisphere, that your spring coming into summer is shaping up to be beautiful. And I love you all very much. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I'm going to pack this away, go rip those socks out, and I need to leave in half an hour to go exercise, so I need to get my exercise clothes on. Have a great day. I'll see you in, I don't know, a couple, 3 weeks. If I have something else big happen with this sweater, maybe I'll sit down and record it. Otherwise, it'll probably be the end of November, and we'll do my knit a sweater in November check-in then, okay? And between now and then, it's going to be American Thanksgiving. So have a great Thanksgiving holiday. I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.
I just can't wait to finish. I got the kitten in blues. No, I just can't wait to finish. That's why I got those kitten in blues.